She destroyed a man's life. Let's get to it.
This woman, she's a freshman in college. Let's call her Ryder. So one day, she's walking home from her friend's place through the park, and that's when a man jumps out and attacks her, and he does something to her that I can't say, but it starts with an R. And then the guy runs away, and police can't find him. Now, a few months later, Ryder is walking down the street, and she just so happens to run into him. This guy. His name is Broadwater. So she calls police arrest him, he goes to trial, they use hair analysis to tie him to the crime scene, and he's eventually sentenced to prison. Years later, Ryder writes a memoir about her experience in the park that day, and it gets published. The book is called Lucky, and it sells over 1 million copies, and it launches her career as a professional author. A few years after that, Ryder finishes writing a second book, and this book is called The Lovely Bones, and it blows up too, selling over 10 million copies. Then Peter Jackson gets involved and makes it into a movie starring Mark Wahlberg, and that movie is very successful. In fact, the movie is so successful, it catches the attention of this guy, Timothy. Now, Timothy owns a production company, and he wants to turn Ryder's first book into a movie, Lucky. So Timothy gets the rights, and he funds the movie, and he starts developing it, and Victoria Pedretti from You is supposed to star in it, and it's gonna be a huge hit. I mean, everything is going great. Until Timothy starts researching the book so they can properly turn it into a movie. And he notices a lot of things in this story aren't adding up. So what's not adding up? Well, let's back this up a bit. Broadwater's arrested, he goes to trial, they use hair analysis to tie him to the crime scene, and eventually he's sentenced to prison. Broadwater's in prison for 16 years, and he gets out right around the same time Lucky is first published. And this whole time, he has claimed he's innocent. He even appeals to get his conviction overturned, but his appeals get rejected. Even after he's out of prison, he appeals, still rejected. He pays to take a polygraph, he passes, but that doesn't help the appeals, and he's still an ex-convict. And of course, now he has to register as a schmex offender, so he has trouble getting a job, and he doesn't have a lot of friends. Now, eventually, he meets a nice woman, and they get married. And she wants kids, and he does too. But he refuses to have them because of the stigma they would have to face having a dad with that on his record. So he doesn't have kids. Now, back to Timothy. So Timothy is researching the book, and things in the story aren't adding up. Like when police ask Ryder to pick her attacker out of a lineup, she picks this guy, who's allegedly a plant, when Broadwater is actually this guy, and there's a lot of little stuff like that. So
Whoa, okay, let's pause right here. They're basically saying that this girl, for some reason, chose, instead of actually trying to search and find her rapist, chose a random black man on the street that kind of looked like him. Wrong soundboard. Who would have thought? Who would have heard of this before? Such a new, fresh concept that has totally never happened. This has happened many times in history. It actually used to happen a lot back in the 60s and 80s. White women would allegedly get raped by black men, big, black, dangerous men. And when they couldn't find the culprit who did it, they would just go around the streets and look at one that they just particularly don't really like and who may resemble the man, even though the man who raped them have an afro and the man they found has waves. Who cares? They're all niggas at the end of the day. They resemble each other. So, take them. He would take that man, go to the police, be like, he raped me. Without any evidence of this at all, they would arrest the man, and he would have his life in prison where they would try to execute him because he raped a white woman with no proof. And they'll fabricate evidence. I've seen plenty of movies of this exact situation happening. Not movies. I've read stories of this exact situation happen. They've even made movies about it. And it's a sad thing that actually used to happen a lot. And half the time, let's be honest, 80% of the time, the woman didn't even get raped. I mean, the story sounds fake. Why would a man randomly grape you in the park while you was walking and nobody did nothing? Nobody seen it? It's a public place. How was nobody there? How was nobody there to stop it? That doesn't even make sense. So, you feel me? But that's typically what happened. Let's see the rest of the story.
Timothy says, nah, I can't fund this movie anymore, and he refuses to continue funding the project, and they fire him. But he's become so invested in this case, he actually hires a private investigator to look into it. The private investigator then investigates and turns everything they find over to Broadwater's attorneys. These new attorneys, they re-examine the case, and they find a lot of stuff, like that hair analysis has since widely been discredited as junk science, stuff like that. And they end up filing a motion to overturn Broadwater's conviction. And eventually, a judge agrees to hear the case, and after 40 years of fighting, the conviction is finally overturned. So then, right
after 40 years, they didn't have any real evidence. All they had was a single piece of hair. A single piece of hair. Clearly fabrication. They put an innocent man in jail. It's crazy.
Of course, posts a written apology to Broadwater saying that she will forever be sorry.
Fuck your apology. What are you talking about? And then the crazy part about this shit, they lined up a line of other black men. And when she went to repick her accuser, she chose the wrong one. You're just racist as shit, and you was trying to get somebody in jail. You're trying to put somebody in jail. Just a random black man. I doubt you even got raped.
The publisher stops publishing the book, the movie's no longer in production, and Broadwater sues the state of New York.
And why would you even make a movie about that? What?
For taking 16 years of his life away. Ultimately, the state settled with him for $5.5 million. Get
your bag, King. Get your bag.
Good for him. While Timothy and his production company are now making a documentary about Broadwater and his story called Unlucky. It's currently in development. And just to be clear, they concluded that Ryder had been assaulted that day, just not by Broadwater. And all this happened in Syracuse, New York, so shout out to New York.
Okay, so she did get assaulted.
This woman...
She did get assaulted. I still think cases like this should be publicized way more. This has happened way more than y'all think. I'm telling you. Research into like unspoken or unfound or unsolved cases or just public executions that happen in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia back in the 60s and 70s. A lot of people were put on death row undeservingly because they raped a white woman when there was no evidence to prove the case. But who cares? Let's just get another one of these niggas off the street. It's really crazy the history of our country. And it's crazy that they let her get away with that for so long. Now, unfortunately, she did actually get raped. Condolences for that. But even if that does happen to you, that doesn't give you the right to put an innocent man in jail. It just doesn't give you the right at all. I'm sorry, and this is a touchy topic, but it's just crazy how certain people can just put an innocent man in jail. And then the only thing they do to apologize for it was to write an apology. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasted 16 years of your life and labeled you as a SA offender to the point where you were scared to have kids. My bad. I also wrote a book about you, trying to get it published or a movie published, and basically got famous off of you. My bad. Like, fuck you. I'm gonna keep it a bit. All right.